Hey guys, this is Gary. The Nissan Z's rebirth in 2002 created a Z renaissance and excitement for the automotive industry. It's been almost a decade now with the current Z34 chassis, and it's only received subtle changes while the competition improved dramatically. There are rumors of a new one appearing, but what are the details of the next generation Z? There were articles that Nissan was focused on the next generation Z and that it would appear at this year's Tokyo Auto Salon, but recent interviews say otherwise. The sales figures for this car, including others like the BRZ and Genesis, have been decreasing as of late, and Nissan is not quite sure if it's a great decision to continue. The Z35 was rumored earlier to debut in 2018, but I think with Toyota's next generation Supra coming out, Nissan decided to delay it. The new Z will have chassis code Z35. It's expected to use the same FRO platform as the Infiniti lineup. I'm sure it will also have a mid-chip placement of the motor like previous generations. Other than that, there's not much detail about the chassis or suspension, only that it'll have a shorter wheelbase and be lighter. Let's hope it also has improved handling characteristics. The most likely engine candidate for the Z35 would be the one currently used in the Infiniti Q50, Q60, or Japanese Skyline. They may also follow the same format with an entry-level model having 300 horsepower and a higher output version having 400 horsepower and a hybrid option. The engine code will be VR30DDTT, which is derived from Nissan's VR family line and also used in the GTR's VR38DETT. There's not much information on where the similarities start and end. The 3.0 tells us that it's a 3-liter engine. The D means that the engine will be dual overhead cam. The following letter D designates that there will be direct fuel injection. It's a nice technology which will help with fuel economy and combustion efficiency in the motor and allows a 10.3:1 compression ratio. There are arguments though from tuners that direct injection will not offer many options for larger fuel injectors, are more expensive, and make it more difficult to make beastly power. The final two letters, TT, denotes that the engine will have 2 turbos. The twin turbos are a blessing to the V6 engine because that would be the only way to go now in order to make the power to compete with the V8s, which some have already received forced induction. The previously used naturally aspirated V6s also have reached their limits on horsepower, drivability, and meeting smog standards. The stock turbos are manufactured by Garrett and set at 14.5 psi of boost. This motor is already known to be underrated, with the lower output engine already producing 300 horsepower at the wheel and the higher output engine producing 375 horsepower at the wheel. Testing has shown the stock turbo's efficiency drops after 21 psi. It should benefit more with full bolt-ons. My question now is, how much can the stock motor handle with an upgraded turbo? There is no turbo manifold since there is only one combined exhaust port now and not individual exhaust ports. This is a cost savings measure that benefits the OEM. The turbo's exhaust housing bolts right onto the head's 4-bolt pattern. This allows exhaust gases to reach the turbine wheel quickly. It has an electronic wastegate to regulate boost pressure. With an electronic wastegate, it can be more precise, and with aftermarket tuning, the wastegate can be manipulated to release at whichever pressure you desire. Of course, this may be dependent on the type of spring or mechanism they use to regulate it. Bolt-on aftermarket turbo upgrades will most likely involve machining the compressor housing and exhaust housing to stuff a larger wheel, providing higher horsepower potential. Turbos that we typically see would need to have the special head bolt pattern on the turbine housing in order to bolt on, but that can be simply resolved by adding an adapter. The problem I see is difficulty porting the exhaust ports, because now you may not have access to them because of this one large port which all the exhaust flows through. There will be one air-to-water intercooler on each side of the V6 to provide cooling. Air-to-water intercoolers rely on coolant to dissipate heat from the intercoolers compared to air-to-air intercoolers, which rely on the air passing through. They're compact and tucked nicely right beside the intake manifold. The problem though is that they are small and they sit up high where all the heat rises, which may be more prone to heat soak. The solution, as I mentioned earlier, is that they will be liquid cooled. Being liquid cooled, they don't need to be as large. I'm just concerned if they will be efficient enough once the boost is raised. But a larger heat exchanger can be installed in the front of the car to provide more fluid and cooling. Aftermarket air-to-air intercooler options may be difficult to install since the original design doesn't route to the front of the car, and if you plan to do a front mount intercooler, you'll have to block off the coolant lines that were going to the stock intercoolers. The whole turbocharger system is compact though. Short routed plumbing provides much better response since the air doesn't have to travel as far. Performance-wise, it should be slightly better than its cousin the Q50, Q60, or Skyline, which does a 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds and finishes the quarter mile at 13 flat at 112 miles per hour. It looks to be in line with the current Mustang GT, but not the Camaro SS, which does a 12-second quarter mile at 118 miles per hour. The Z is currently the entry-level sports car for Nissan, with the GTR being the halo car. If it's to be successful, entry-level pricing would need to start in the low 30s. It's supposed to be Nissan's affordable sports car too, if you think about its first introduction in the 70s. The benefits of a Z can introduce potential customers to Nissan's performance line of vehicles. It'll be great if it comes turbocharged from the factory because increasing power will only involve bolt-ons and increasing the boost. A smaller wheelbase and expected lighter weight will be beneficial to compete with the other manufacturers. This may be the engine and chassis that will bring the Z back to its glory days. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the future Z35 in the comments section below. Like and subscribe for future videos. I'll see you in the next one.